Meeting of the Portsmouth Port and Industrial Commission meeting for December 21st, 2022. Roll call, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners, council members, and City Manager Chapman, as well as those viewing remotely. I will read the roll. Ms. Bethay, Ms. McSwain, Mr. Carr. Here. Ms. Rogers Garner, Mr. Williams. Present. Ms. Jackson.
Here.
And Ms. Allen.
Present.
Madam Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Before you have the minutes of the October 25th, 2022 regular meeting. If you have no questions or concerns or corrections, I need a motion for approval of the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
and Ms. Allen.
Yes.
Item is approved by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you. We will have our financial
Yes,
audit information.
and just like to recognize Ms. McSwain.
Morning.
Morning. Yes, so we do have a financial item for discussion this morning. We have moved, as you are aware, to a quarterly reporting schedule, which will commence again in January, but we do have a need to review the FY 2022 financial statements.
Yeah.
The audit process, and Ms. Patty Phillips of the Finance Department is here, and I do believe we have some guests as well. So
Yes.
Ms. Phillips, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. The audited financials for June 30, 2022, that audit is near completion, and I think a copy of it is in your package. And the auditors are here, Aris Coleman and Greg Busing. And they will provide their required disclosures to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We need to get some audio here. Can't hear you guys.
Can you hear us now?
Hear you.
Okay.
So, well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to present to you today. Patty gave us a nice introduction. We're required to do as part of the audit process is make certain communications to governance. So we wanted to, I think everyone has a draft of the financial statements. So we wanted to just point out a few things that we wanted to make clear to you guys. So we are planning on issuing an unmodified opinion. So we're working through our quality control process. So we've got several deliverables with the city and related entities. So we've got the city's financial statement audit is coming near to completion. And as soon as that is done, then we'll get the PPIC report through our QC process and issued as well. So we expect that to be within the next week or two to get all the reports out there. Want to thank management for their help. Patty and the management team within the organization are very helpful to us throughout the process, get us information that we need to complete the audit. And so I just want to thank them for their help. Going through the process, there is a new auditing standard this year that took effect. So when you get the final reports, you'll see that our opinion looks a little different than it has in the past. It's about maybe 3/4 of a page longer. It's really not a huge change, but what you'll see is that the format's a little different. So the opinion, there's actually a paragraph where we say that the financial statements are fairly stated. That's actually moved up from the bottom of the report to be the second paragraph now. So the standard setters wanted that to be more prominent within the report. And then as you'll see when you get the final report, and it's not in the draft that you have today, but when the final report comes out, it'll have some bullet points that go into more detail about the auditor's responsibilities and management's responsibilities. So, and you'll see that if you see any other audit reports for any other organizations you're involved with too, that's a wholesale change across the industry for everybody. So you'll see there's changes coming there. So for us, that did result in some additional work that we were required to do. Wasn't a lot of extra work for the PPIC, but it was some additional things that we had to do. So just a little bit of a lift on our side, really nothing more for PPIC. So no new standards there. There was a lease standard that impacted the industry, but it didn't affect the PPIC. You guys don't have any leases that qualified. So you're lucky there. So, but just going through the process, management was helpful. We didn't have any disagreements with management as far as standards, as far as implementation of accounting standards or the work that we wanted to do. There was no what they call opinion shopping. So that's where management might go out and, ask for how we would look at a transaction that they had recorded. So none of that going on. So that's and that's standard. We haven't had an issue with you guys. As far as the report goes itself, you'll see that note 8 does mention a prior period adjustment. So in going through this year's audit, the one thing that stood out as far as differences, and management did the research and found some additional transactions that hadn't been recorded in the past. So you'll see disclosure, some information about those. There's a little bit of note 7. So you really need to look at note 7 and note 8 together. But note 8 breaks out the detail. Basically, it's a net effect of about $180,000, a decrease in that position related to liabilities that needed to be recorded. There was a $680,000 asset and liability that were presented, and then the net effect, there was another $180,000 roughly that needed to be recorded related to another liability. So they're included. The information is there in the financial statements for you to see. Otherwise, it was a relatively, I think, consistent year to what we've seen in the past. So that was the one thing I wanted to point out within the financial statements. And then wanted to see if anyone had any questions at this point.
Someone was detected at your home front door.
That sounded automated.
Any questions?
You have a robot. Okay, with no questions, then our plan is to, we'll get with management, and we'll ask management to sign a representation letter for us. That's standard at the end of the audit process. And then we will complete our quality control process and we'll get our reports issued as soon as we can. And if you have any questions after the meeting, if anything comes up, please feel free to reach out to us directly, or you could ask Patty. She may know the answer. She can pass it along to us. So, but we're essentially complete and working to get everything else wrapped up.
No. You
I
go
was going to say, we're looking forward to it, Greg.
We are too.
I just had a quick question. The liabilities that were not recorded, what time frame was that for?
They were, well, let me find it.
So I and Patty, I think, just correct me, but that liability related to, it was from, well, the agreement was signed back in 2014, related to the land held for sale. So the agreement was around that once due to sources, I guess, that were used to purchase the land, that once the land is sold, that the $200,000 was to go back to the Commonwealth. So I guess that the agreement was signed in 2014 and was effect. And I guess when the land was actually purchased, it should have come onto the PPIC financial statements.
Oh, and just to further clarify, Eric, that was when the state remediated the property at Burton's Point. One of the properties at Burton's Point has been remediated and one has not been. And remember, last year we made an adjustment for the property not remediated. This the state did in 2014, and there was an agreement signed that says that the PPIC will repay it no later than 2029, I think, or when the property is sold, whichever comes first. So it's not a commitment that you can avoid if just by not selling the property. So we wanted to reflect that, and we reflect it by increasing the value of the land, because that land was carried at a very, very low price, and then reflected the liability. So the net impact on the net position is zero. It's just that we wanted the balance sheet to show everything.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none. Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, if I could just add to this item, there is no formal action required of the PPIC as it relates to the audited financial statements. I believe in years past that there has been a vote that was taken to accept the audit results, but that is not an actual requirement. I've spoken with the city attorney's office, so this is essentially more of just a receipt and presentation of those reports.
Okay. Moving on to old business. Port of Virginia update.
Yes, and we did receive word yesterday that the representatives from the port were not able to join us. They are out for the holidays this week and next. But I did receive a report from Mr. Thomas Cross of the Port of Virginia, which I can share with you now, Madam Chair, if that's acceptable.
Please.
Mr. Cross reported that as they have previously mentioned, as demand decreases in the world's economy, they expect to see volumes decrease as well, and they're starting to see evidence of that at the Port of Virginia. Port volumes this November were just shy of last year's November volume total by 4,000 TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units. This November, the port moved approximately 286,000 TEUs in calendar year 2022 versus 290,000 TEUs in the prior year. Last month, the port was even with the previous October in 2021 at 318,000 TEUs. Additionally, the competition in Savannah and Charleston each moved 30,000 TEUs less than their previous November totals in 2021. So the main takeaway is that even when there's a slowdown or decrease in demand, the Port of Virginia's goal is not to slow down as much as our competition, and the numbers that I just shared with you should reflect that. Also, for context, if the port in their reporting removed last year's total in November, this past month would have been considered the most productive November in the port's history, which shows that the growth that we are seeing is real and continues. Construction of the offshore wind hub at Portsmouth Marine Terminal is also underway and progressing. Construction is approximately 15% complete and is anticipated to be done in 2025. And just to recap what that construction involves, that is the conversion of the Portsmouth Marine Terminal from a container and cargo terminal to an offshore wind hub, which is currently being retrofitted to serve Dominion Energy's construction, staging, and operations for the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project. Initially, we expect it to be the epicenter for offshore wind on the entire East Coast. So they're actually constructing, in addition to an upgraded terminal, they are putting in new wharfs and in a new bulkhead to accommodate offshore wind vessels calling on the port and doing their loading and offloading of offshore wind materials for the projects. So lots of changes happening there. If you've driven on the Martin Luther King Freeway and look to your right as you're heading west, you'll see a lot of construction activity, cranes, they're driving piles, and lots of activity there. Finally, Mr. Cross reported that the optimization of the Norfolk International terminal in Norfolk, the North Terminal next to Norfolk Naval Station is anticipated to begin in the first half of 2023. And those improvements will add approximately 20% more capacity overall to the Port of Virginia's operations. So very thorough report from the port. And despite, I think, some of the economic slowdowns that are being experienced, they're still performing very well.
Okay. Port Host Community Revitalization Fund Program update.
We wanted to share with you the status of the Port Host Community Grant Program. We do have, as you are aware, 3 grants that have been received under the state program to date, beginning in FY20. And then we are in the process of applying for a 4th grant, which is still in review with the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. We do expect the FY23 grant to be announced in the first quarter of 2023. That usually occurs in the January-February timeframe. And again, these grant programs are restricted to the 5 Port Host localities in the Commonwealth. Portsmouth obviously being one. The others are Norfolk, Newport News, Richmond, and Front Royal, which has an inland port facility. And the program is intended to facilitate the redevelopment and revitalization of port-related properties in those host localities to further port-related commerce and trade. We have been very successful in most instances getting the lion's share of the grant award annually. You can see we had $500,000 that was awarded in the first 2 years of the program. FY22, we did receive $856,000 of the $1.5 million was awarded to Portsmouth, and this year we're requesting, as you can see, $415,000. The FY20 and FY21 grants, those are complete, and we are in the process of dispersing those funds. So you will see those as we talk about your financial statements hitting your books here very soon. We just actually processed the request for the FY21 grant payout, and that came in under the award amount. They had some savings there. So $379,000 of the $500,000 approximately was processed for that grant. And it is a reimbursement grant, so they have to document their expenses and then be reimbursed for that. We are in the process of closing out FY20. You can note that their disbursement amount is $140,136.06. They came in substantially under what their award was from the state. The reason for that, they were able to, in the process of demolishing the former coal-fired power plant at 1 Wild Duck Lane, the Cogentrix facility, they were able to recycle a lot of that waste stream, the metal material that was in the waste stream, and they actually received compensation from that from their demolition contractor. So their costs actually came in substantially lower. And that's okay. The money goes back to the program. So it's there for the next round when we go and ask for more money. It just gets recycled back to the fund. And we are still working on the FY22 grant that is underway. They're getting ready to commence the improvements there at 3301 Shipwright Street, and they're going to be replacing the waterfront bulkhead on that industrial site for maritime related activities, including offshore wind. So that is currently underway. I'm certainly happy to go into further detail and answer any questions you may have this time, but wanted to make sure you were aware of some of the flow of funds as we are now working to close out these grants that have been reported on now for several years.
Okay. Mr. Barr.
Quick question, in the audit under section 8, the commission had not recorded grants in the Commonwealth. Did we not record the disbursement amount or the award amount?
Well, in this particular case, in the past, no disbursements have been made.
Oh, okay.
So there was no
That's
need
fine.
to record a disbursement. We still
Gotcha.
had the liability and the receivable.
Okay, but not the actual disbursement. Understood.
Any other questions? Thank you. Before we head into new business, I want to recognize our city manager, Ms. Tanya Chapman,
Good morning, everyone.
our council liaison, Councilman Bill Moody,
Good morning.
Good morning.
and our new councilman, Mark Hugel. Good morning.
Good
Thank you
morning.
for attending this morning. New business. We do have a need to go into a closed meeting. Mr. Williams, do you happen to have the closed meeting paper in your?
No, I don't.
If you would take us into closed meeting, please.
I move to go into a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711. A.3 for the purpose of discussing the acquisition or disposition of real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically regarding the disposition of 3920 and 3930 Burdens Point Road and the acquisition of 06th Street and 16037 7th Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. McSwain,
Yes.
Mr. Parr,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
and Ms. Allen.
Yes,
Motion is approved by a vote of 5-0.
we are going into closed session.
I hereby move that each commissioner certify that to the best of his or her knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. McSwain,
Yes.
Mr. Parr,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
and Ms. Allen.
Yes,
Motion is approved by a vote of 5-0.
thank you. Items submitted by commissioners. Having none. Report backs.
Yes, Madam Chair, I did have a few items just to revisit with you. The first is to thank you for your participation and sponsorship of the 2022 Business Appreciation Reception that was held on December 8th at the Portsmouth Renaissance Hotel, recognizing our business community for their successes in 2022, as well as our partners. And we appreciated your sponsorship and attendance at the event. I did see a few of you there.
It was very nice.
So we appreciated you taking the time out to join us for that. It was well received. We had well over, I think, 115, 120 attendees that came out that evening to join us to celebrate the year, to network and share good things that are coming in 2023. So I wanted
And our city manager was also in attendance.
she was, as was Councilman Hugel and I think a few other members of the council
Yes,
and
yes.
boards and commissions. So
We choose Portsmouth.
absolutely. So I just wanted to say thank you again for that. The second is just a reminder that the financial disclosure statements for 2023 will be sent out to you, I believe, no later than December 30th for your completion and return back. Those will be coming from the city clerk's office. I believe the due date for that is February 1st of 23. I would expect to receive those. If for any reason you do not, please let me know. Very important that we get those back
Absolutely.
as quickly as possible. And then just one last thing, which is to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to the board. We've had a really phenomenal year in 2022. For those who were not at the vacation reception, we did achieve over $112 million in new capital investment in the calendar year that came through our office. And we have a pipeline of projects rolling into 23 where I expect that that's our new baseline threshold for our target for investment in the city. So I just want to thank you for your support and leadership and
Thank you.
assistance in providing our team and the city leadership with your support. Can't do it without you. Economic development, as I said the other day, is a team sport, and it really needs everyone here at the table to participate to make it happen. So
Thank you.
thank you. And that was all I had.
Okay, I do have a couple of things. Number one, I'd like to congratulate Councilman Moody, Councilman Hugel on your wins. The citizens have chosen you to continue to lead, and to bring on to lead our city moving forward. Like to recognize Brian for becoming the permanent economic development director. So congratulations on that. And finally, Mr. Williams, is our last meeting with you as one of our commissioners. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your service. City Council has appointed an additional member to the PPIC, which will be joining us in January. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on our team, and thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. It was an honor to serve, and I will miss the commission.
Thank you. But there's other boards and commissions. I highly recommend that you apply. With that being said, happy holidays to anyone. If anyone else has anything. No?
I just want to say,
Yes.
it's been great, my first year, a couple months, but I'm learning a lot, and thank you guys for inviting me, and I hope to learn more next year.
Hearing no other comments, questions, or concerns, everyone have a happy holiday. We'll see you in January 2023.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.